Why do I feel diminished with no voice? Is it oftentimes because I'm the only female in the room? Or is it because I'm typically only the black female in the room? There are times that I look and say, can you hear me? I matter. When I think about my journey, it's been a very bittersweet road that I think about all the things that I've experienced in both my personal and academic career. It's interesting, in Lean In, Sheryl Sandberg said that 21 women are CEOs of corporate organizations. And that number is only 4% of women of color who hold top corporate jobs. I am one of those statistics. Women in leadership are vital for both our organizations and our communities. But if we don't have that voice, we've lost half the world. Dualism is shifting is when women of color have to look at being in two cultures and have to shift between the two to make others feel comfortable. And what happens in that particular environment is that you either feel isolated or diminished. So in my experience, I decided to go back and get my doctorate. And when I did that, it's interesting, those that I thought that would support me and help me in that journey told me that I either wouldn't graduate or that I wasn't committed to the program. At the time, I was a single black mother with 2 sons. So guess what? I didn't have a choice. I had to persevere. I had to show up every single day and show that, yes, this matters. In Lean In, again, it's stated between 1978 and 2006, households will be led by women, and the proportionate number would be much higher, from 1 to 10 to 1 to 5, and the proportionate number would be much higher in black families and Hispanic families. And again, I had to make a choice. I had to make sure that I persevered, and it was so important for me to thrive. In that experience, although there were situations where I didn't feel supported, but I had one professor who told me, you have a voice, you can write, you've got to stay with it. And I did graduate with my doctorate. And in my doctorate studies, my actual dissertation is Courage on Fire, Women, Black Women Who Survived Corporate America. And the funny story around that is that they went back and forth and said, oh, we need to talk about success, but it wasn't about success. It was actually about survival. In my study, the research also stated that between 1992 and 2012, the workforce of black women would raise by 46%. And that is a number way too large for us to ignore, and for it to only be 4% that is actually being represented. So when I finished with my undergraduate, I went to work for a corporate organization. I was so excited, and the same experience that I have had throughout my journey, I had a leader who told me that I would never have a leadership role, and that I didn't have the capability of being a leader. So what do? I go back to school. Because for me, it's always been around the importance of not only education, but trying to persevere. And that's a legacy that my parents taught me. So I go back to school, I get my MBA, I come out, and I had the opportunity to work for another organization, and I had a leader that poured into me. And he told me, you have a voice, and you're not invisible, and I need for you to be bold. The other thing that I didn't mention is that in that doctoral program, again, I had others that did pour into me through that time frame. But again, I went to another role. I ended up having an individual who was my peer that I worked for, and she said to me, you really aren't capable of being a leader. I remember that conversation, and I remember another individual coming to me who was an amazing mentor, and she said to me, you can't worry about what people say about you. It's none of your business. What you actually need to do is use your voice. You have a choice. You need to use your voice. And at that moment, what I decided is that I didn't want to just survive. I wanted to thrive. So the irony of this is that I have a career in human resources, and human resources we're supposed to ideally be the conscience of organizations. We're supposed to help support individuals, leaders, organizations, teams to be better and have an opportunity to make sure every individual has a voice, they're not invisible, and that they're seen. So the reality is that I actually live my mantle every day. So the research that was so important to me, the things that I do, it was just so clear that that's where I needed to be. Having said that, I also get the same thing all the time. I've missed opportunities, I've been laid off, I've missed promotions, I've had to fight for equity in my salary, as most women and others have to do, but it's never deterred me to continue on and to thrive, as I mentioned before. I always tell this story, so the thing is, the mantle of what I do in my research and my education has been so important to me. So it's funny, I have people that always want to say, so okay, how did you get here? What did you do? So I always talk about the story about going back and getting my MBA, and I'm so proud of that because I went back to a historically black college and university. And they'll say, oh, so what college was it? And I'll say, Clark Atlanta University. And they'll say to me, so where is that? Which what that means is that I'm constantly having to come back and say, what is the reality of the fact that I have to tell my story and help others? Statistics say that Asian, Black, and Hispanic women hold 17% of corporate jobs in corporate organizations. However, fewer than 4% of those women of color are executives or in leadership roles. The number is still only 4%. So the interesting thing to all of this is that the gender, race, voice phenomena is not a women's issue. It's everyone's issue. Go back to what I said about the fact that if we have that voice that's not there, we've lost half the world. I have had amazing opportunities to lead and be with teams, and the picture that you're seeing there is the team that I had the opportunity to lead. And what was so important to me for everyone on that team was that they had an opportunity to have a voice, that they didn't feel diminished, and that they weren't invisible. And it was an amazing, diverse team. And to a person, they have moved on to better and amazing opportunities, and they too are providing a voice to those that also need it. So I say to you, you think about the barriers, and they're there, but what's the answer? So I've told you, I've given you examples of mentors that poured into me and made a big difference. And it's not about the fact that women need women mentors. I have had all sorts of mentors that have poured into me and have told me the importance of my voice and what I can do. And I have fought against every one of those statistics that have come up. And yet, I'm still one of those at 4%. So it's funny, in my role today, I still deal with individuals trying to diminish me in some sort of way. It doesn't matter that I'm an HR executive, they really don't care about that. And I just was recently in a meeting with two men, and we were talking, and they said, well, who's the decision maker? And I said, well, it's me. They said, oh, we'd love for you to bring in your peer, who's a male, to have a conversation with him, and can you schedule that meeting? I had a choice to make. At that point, I could have said, it's me or nothing. So although I've gone through my career and I think about the advantages that I've had and those people that have poured to me, I also remember the fact that all of us, each one of us, are responsible for ensuring that we're moving things along to better than 4%. I have been so blessed in things that have happened to me in my career from the standpoint that although I've had people tell me I wouldn't graduate with my doctorate, I wouldn't be a leader, I wouldn't be able to actually lead teams, but I'm here. So the important thing about that is that I am that 4%. But I ask you all to work with me to fight for it to become 46%.